While electric vehicles are increasingly known for their advanced technology and impressive computer integration, at their very core is one crucial piece of hardware: the battery. The development of this essential technology is what has enabled the rapid growth and advancements in the EV industry. This technology has really matured a lot in a very short period of time. The first electric vehicles either had impractically short ranges or were prohibitively expensive, resulting in extremely niche vehicles in either case. Since then, big developments in battery tech have given these vehicles longer ranges, faster charging speeds, lower cost, and thus made them more viable. Behind the scenes, major companies are working tirelessly to produce the next generation of advanced batteries. Each alternate process has different advantages, but in the end, the goal is to produce safer and cheaper batteries that can drive further distances with greater longevity. There might even be a day in the not-so-distant future where you're driving an EV that never needs charging because it is powered by safe nuclear radiation. That might sound far-fetched, but this is just one of the many exciting advancements that could be coming soon. There's a lot to cover here, so let's get into it. Before we get into what's coming in the future, let's discuss how current batteries work. The science behind batteries is complicated, so this is just a general layman's overview of the basics. To start, an EV battery is not actually one big singular battery. Each electric vehicle is equipped with thousands of individual battery cells that are grouped together in a large pack. These packs are generally huge and make up a large portion of the weight of these vehicles. These individual cells are made to a lot of different specifications, with each brand having their own preferred standards. For example, Tesla uses a variety of cylindrical battery cells from different suppliers: 2170 for the Model 3 and Y, 18650 for the Model S and X, and then their new internally developed 4680 battery cells. The name here comes from the dimensions of the cell itself, with this one being 46 millimeters in diameter and 80 millimeters long, a little less than twice the size of a standard C battery. These cells appear in the Cybertruck today and have been expanding for a while now. While there are a lot of different batteries out there, they all work by essentially the same principles. All batteries contain two electrodes, a positive anode connected to a negative cathode by a liquid electrolyte in between them. When discharging, ions flow from the cathode to the anode and out to whatever you are powering externally, and then flow the opposite direction when charging. Over the course of the battery's lifetime, this process causes microscopic damage to its structure and is one of the primary causes of battery degradation. They will also lose capacity as they age, since the lithium ions inside will gradually react with electrolyte material to form non-conductive compounds that reduce the amount of ions that can transfer energy. There are lots of different battery chemistries out there, but they are all essentially variations of the standard lithium-ion battery technology. As the name suggests, lithium is a key element in all of these batteries, but they are further defined by the many other materials that make up the specific cathode configuration. The two most common battery types here in the West are made using nickel, manganese, cobalt, and sometimes aluminum as well, otherwise known as NMC or NMCA. These batteries have a lot of advantages that make them very suitable for powering electric vehicles. To start, they have really high energy density and charge very quickly. However, experts recommend that you only regularly charge them up to 80%, as fully charging them can lead to faster degradation. In addition, the materials used in these batteries is very flammable, and thus requires a lot of special engineering and hardware to make sure that they are safe. While EVs are much less likely to catch fire than gas vehicles, this flammable material is what makes battery fires so long-lasting and difficult to fight. The other major battery chemistry, which was popularized in China and has been increasing in market share around the globe, is lithium iron phosphate, or LFP. These batteries have a lower energy density, but make up for that trade-off with a much lower production cost, and they're comparatively less flammable. Their low production cost has made LFP batteries increasingly popular for more affordable or entry-level EVs like the standard range rear-wheel drive Model 3. One added benefit of LFP batteries over other chemistries is that they can charge up to 100% every time with far less fear of degradation. So while these batteries will often have much lower peak ranges, it's not as big of a deal day to day if you only charge your NMC battery up to 80% as Tesla recommends. That extra range is good to have since you can charge up to 100% for road trips, but for shorter commutes, the LFP battery punches a bit above its weight class, so to speak. These batteries have done a lot to make EVs more viable than ever, with great ranges and faster charging speeds than ever. Even in the relative short term, there are tons of potentially massive advancements coming that could shake up the industry very soon. At this point, making the cathode is by far the most expensive part of the battery making process. Just that one piece accounts for 36% of the cost of the entire cell. As it stands right now, modern lithium-ion batteries are made using a wet process, where the necessary conductive chemicals, additives, and binders are mixed together, applied to a base layer, and then dried in an industrial furnace. This is a proven method that gets consistent results, but the solvents involved aren't great for the environment and can be quite pricey. Additionally, the drying process uses a lot of energy and takes up a lot of additional valuable space in the production pipeline. For a very long time now, many companies and labs have been working on a replacement process, which is referred to as the dry method. Essentially, this process removes the need for the industrial solvents and drying time in favor of a dry application method. This is great as it will save a lot of energy by cutting the drying process, as well as reducing their reliance on harsh chemicals that aren't great for the environment. As I mentioned, a lot of people have been working on this tech for a while, but until very recently, nobody had ever had real success there. Just recently, Tesla announced that they had completed production of a very special Cybertruck outfitted with a test prototype dry cathode 4680 battery pack. While it's very cool to see that Tesla is making some concrete progress on a long-standing battery problem, what does this truly mean for the company and their cars? The Cybertruck team tweeted in response that these dry cathode batteries could lead to a general cost reduction, as well as being much more environmentally friendly and more scalable. That all sounds great, but Sawyer Merritt went on to outline just how big of an impact this new tech could really have. These cells could stand to decrease production costs by as much as 15 to 30%, as well as taking up 10 times less factory floor space and using 10 times less energy. This is a bit more speculative since the tech still has a long ways to go, but it could also lead to the production of higher density batteries with more range. Tesla still has a long ways to go with these batteries, but even getting to this stage has put them far ahead of the competition. LG Energy Solutions is currently planning on having dry method batteries ready for mass production by 2028, but Tesla could beat them to the punch. Only time will tell how well this can be scaled, but as it stands, Tesla is at the forefront of this tech. So that still is somewhat of a variation on current battery technology, but a technology that has long been viewed as the holy grail of sorts for battery developers are solid-state batteries. Like I mentioned earlier, current generations of lithium-ion batteries use a liquid electrolyte in between the anode and cathode, which allows for the transfer of ions and therefore power. As the name would suggest, a solid-state battery uses a solid electrolyte instead. While this doesn't sound like much on the surface, if this can be implemented effectively at scale, it could lead to some huge improvements. For example, this added density could produce up to 10 times the energy capacity of current battery cells. That means cars could use fewer cells to get the same amount of range as current vehicles, reducing their weight and therefore improving the car's efficiency. Alternatively, these could be used to produce cars with ranges many times longer than even the best electric vehicles on the market right now. Additionally, solid-state batteries should be far safer than current chemistries, charge faster, and even degrade less than other batteries. That sounds like a miracle product at a glance, so what has held this back from mainstream adoption? Well, solid-state batteries are a technology that already exists, but at the moment they are only really used in small products like smartwatches. Sizing them up has so far been impractical as they very quickly become too expensive and difficult to produce at scale. Nevertheless, some big car manufacturers have announced that they plan on bringing their own solid-state batteries to market in the near future. As it stands right now, almost every major battery and car manufacturer has solid-state batteries in their game plan for the relatively near future. At least that's what they say. Honda has supposedly developed a special polymer wrap meant to preserve the internal structure of the battery and hopes to launch it in a vehicle before 2030. The battery firm Prologium has just opened up their first solid-state battery factory, which they hope will enable their partner Mercedes to have their own models out by 2030. Prologium has even more aggressive timelines, as they hope to get these batteries into vehicles sometime within 2024, perhaps those made by the Vietnamese EV maker VinFast, who holds a sizable stake in the company. Quantum Scope has just started testing a solid-state battery with a Volkswagen-owned startup, which has so far seen minimal degradation over the equivalent of 1,000 charge cycles or about 300,000 miles driven. If you've been paying attention to the EV industry for a while now, you'll likely know that battery and EV makers out of China have been making headlines for their affordable and advanced vehicles. In the race towards solid-state batteries, this is proving equally true. The automaker NIO just live-streamed a test of one of their vehicles powered by a, quote, semi-solid-state battery that enabled it to travel 650 miles on a single charge. Over the course of this 14-hour-long journey, the company's CEO didn't have to pull over once to charge, and arrived at his destination with 3% of his 150 kilowatt-hour battery still left. This is about the same size as Rivian's Max Pack, which can get about 410 miles of range, showing just how much more energy dense these batteries are, while keeping overall efficiency of these cars in mind. CATL is one of the biggest battery makers, not just in China, but in the whole world, and they are known for being on the cutting edge of battery technology. As you would expect, they too have been working on their own solid-state batteries, which despite production challenges, they are hoping to make in small batches in 2027. The company is also working as part of an alliance of Chinese manufacturers, backed by their government, to establish supply chains and production pipelines for future solid-state batteries by 2030. There are a ton of battery experts in this coalition, but one of the biggest names is the global EV powerhouse, BYD. With all of their forces combined, China could very well be the home of the world's first widely produced solid-state battery EV. There is a ton of money and resources being poured into this technology right now, and for the time being, it seems like it may actually be coming very soon. Viable solid-state batteries are one of those technologies that has perpetually been on the horizon for a very long time, but always just out of reach. We've seen tons of promises from Toyota that just always get pushed back. As such, many are reasonably skeptical that these companies can make good on these promises, but it does genuinely seem like we may be close to a real breakthrough. Only time can tell how long it will be until these batteries hit the market in a major way, but if it is truly soon, that would be absolutely huge for this market. While of course all of the tech that we have outlined thus far is extremely impressive, that isn't the end of the story as far as future energy storage is concerned. There are tons of scientists all around the world that are working on some new battery designs that really push the boundaries of modern materials science. Some of these may sound outrageous, and others really blur the modern definition of what we even consider a battery. A lot of these designs probably won't be seen outside the lab for a very long time, and others may not really be viable at all. But that is the nature of this technology. You need a lot of trial and error before you really know what works best. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the craziest battery technology out there that could one day be powering your car. A unique startup out of California has just recently proposed a potential battery design that at a base level sounds nothing like any other battery tech we have ever seen. The company Nano Diamond Battery, or NDB, is using a design that uses real diamonds inside that they claim can safely store energy for 28,000 years in certain applications. That sounds absolutely insane on the surface, but let's look into what they are actually proposing here. At the core of their design is a central diamond that is charged by absorbing the energy produced by nuclear waste products, like radioactive graphite. These radioactive isotopes have half-lives that stretch out over thousands of years, so they claim that the batteries will effectively be able to emit energy nearly indefinitely. Surrounding that central diamond are several coatings of synthetic diamond shielding, which will prevent radiation from being emitted by the cell. The thought of a radioactive battery might make you a bit uncomfortable, but the company claims that their design is safe for humans and actually emits less radiation than those naturally emitted by our own bodies. Given its long lifespan, this technology is being looked at for long-duration space flights, but also could be popular for consumer tech and electric vehicles. If this can be made to work, this would effectively give these cars near unlimited range and longevity. This tech, at least in this form, is still extremely early in the design phase, so it may not ever be reliable, scalable, or even work at all. If it can be made widely available, however, that would be a whole new level of game-changing. Quote, in the case of electric vehicles, NBD's nano batteries ensure an autonomy of 90 years. The new NDB battery receives its energy from recycled radioactive isotopes that come from nuclear waste, such as radioactive graphite. Since they have a lifetime of several thousand years, their creators guarantee that they will continue to emit energy and the battery will never need to be recharged. This is quite a different idea here, because it may be easy enough to think, well, we don't need something that lasts for 90 years or longer. Just make it smaller, make it last a couple months, and then require the occasional recharge. However, these aren't batteries in that same sense. They wouldn't be recharged. You would receive a single battery with your EV, and then one day it would completely run out. It's essentially an extremely long-lasting power source, but once it runs out, it's out, and then would likely just need to be replaced if the car is still working. That last idea may sound a bit far-fetched, but the idea of nuclear-powered batteries are surprisingly more common than you might think. A startup out of China named Betavolt has recently unveiled a prototype for a nuclear-powered battery that they claim lasts a more reasonable 50 years on a single charge. The company has successfully fit 63 unique radioactive isotopes into a cell the size of a coin. As the battery ages, the isotopes naturally decay and are converted into electricity, with an energy density over 10 times higher than standard lithium batteries. Unlike traditional battery systems, however, Betavolt claims that this battery's efficiency is unaffected by swings in temperature or varying loads. Like the other nuclear battery discussed today, many will reasonably dismiss the idea as being dangerous due to the potential for exposure to radiation. The company claims that this technology is completely safe for humans, and in fact, one of their proposed applications is to use these batteries to power devices like pacemakers. By sometime next year, they hope to have a 1-watt prototype that could be used to power cell phones or other small electronics effectively indefinitely. They say they are already in the pilot stages and plan to eventually mass produce this tech for commercial applications like phones and drones. Quote, Betavolt atomic energy batteries can meet the needs of long-lasting power supply in multiple scenarios, such as aerospace, AI equipment, medical equipment, microprocessors, advanced sensors, small drones, and micro-robots. As it stands right now, this tech is just in the earliest prototyping stages, but if it's effective, it could theoretically be scaled up to EV sizes. Solid-state batteries have had a similar trajectory, in that the tech has been used for small batteries for a while, but there might be unforeseen efficiency or financial concerns with scaling them up to vehicle size. In time, though, if stigma around nuclear technology, cost around it, and scalability is solved, it could not only solve the, quote, range problem for electric cars, but make far more sense than gasoline vehicles ever did. When it comes to this technology, many may resist it right off the bat. But, quote, the battery works by converting the energy released by decaying isotopes into electricity through a process that was first explored in the 20th century. This technology has been around for quite some time, was used in all the Apollo moon landings, and has since been used for Mars rovers and the spacecraft currently exploring the deep solar system. In fact, this is one of the main use cases we have for it today. Solar isn't always available for spacecraft. Quote, a lunar night lasts 14 days, which means 2 weeks without any solar power. Temperatures can drop to around minus 150 degrees Celsius, damaging the equipment on board. For deep space missions, power means that vital data and images can be sent back to Earth. This is why space batteries are on the European Space Agency's list of mission-critical technologies and one of the fundamental programs for the UK Space Agency. Of course, that's nuclear technology in craft away from Earth, but even when used on Earth, these batteries are environmentally friendly. Quote, atomic energy batteries are environmentally friendly. After the decay period, the 63 isotopes turn into a stable isotope of copper, which is non-radioactive and does not pose any threat or pollution to the environment. There are a lot of questions still to have here, especially when it concerns the true scaling of a technology like this, but it's very exciting nonetheless. Maybe there is a long future where electric vehicles replace most transport, and then this technology comes along to replace that. But the more likely scenario is a mix of a bunch of exciting tech in the future. With proper infrastructure, EVs charged from solar panels with long-lasting, recyclable batteries will seemingly always make sense. It's cyclical, and unless you're driving extremely long distances in extremely short amounts of time, or towing a ton of weight, this will work for the majority of people long-term. For those edge cases, though, and the customers who just never want to charge their car, maybe this tech will prove its value. At the beginning of this video, we talked a lot about lithium-ion batteries, as those have been essentially the default battery technology for a long time. A related technology, though, is shaping up in labs around the world that combines and improves upon the benefits of both existing NMC and LFP battery chemistries. Lithium-sulfur is a promising alternative to current battery technology that offers twice the energy density of NMC, but the low costs of LFP. Sulfur is very cheap and abundant, and could reduce the carbon footprint of battery production by as much as 65% by removing the need for rarer minerals like nickel, cobalt, and manganese. Unlike many of these other technologies, some companies believe that lithium-sulfur is already ready for prime time. A California-based battery manufacturer, Lyten, has been sending samples of their pouch and cylindrical batteries to automakers and other industries, hoping to score some big clients after they can internally test the cells on their products. The first samples were sent out to 20 different private companies, as well as the Department of Defense, for evaluation over the next few quarters. Beyond just the benefits that I've already listed, lithium-sulfur batteries have some key benefits in the realm of production. So far, all of Lyten's initial samples were produced using standard equipment and processes from traditional lithium-ion battery manufacturing. This means that theoretically, current battery makers could easily swap their existing production lines over to making lithium-sulfur cells. While other cell types might theoretically be cheaper to build, that supposes all of the necessary investments into supply and production lines have already been made up front. Current manufacturers are already very highly developed, so using those same lines will likely be more appealing to some of them, as opposed to effectively starting over with a brand new technology. Lighten currently has some very big investors in the automotive world and beyond, such as Stellantis, FedEx, Honeywell, Wallbridge, and Prime Movers Lab. Chrysler has already announced that these latest batteries are featured in their latest concept vehicle. If testing goes well, they could be the first major automaker to integrate these batteries into their cars. Other battery chemistries and designs might eventually supersede this one, but for the imminent future, this offers a lot of benefits that current companies won't be able to deny. If this proves to be commercially viable, this might end up being the next step in battery manufacturing. This company currently is in the planning stages of their first truly EV-scaled battery factory, but that may be a while before it's operational and at full capacity. Another interesting battery alternative is a revival of a space-age technology that is actually powered by something very unusual sounding, rust. Iron-air batteries were first experimented upon by NASA in the 1960s, and although it didn't catch on then, the tech could have some real modern applications. Iron is the fourth most abundant element on the planet, several magnitudes more readily available than lithium, which sometimes can be pricey. As such, these iron batteries are 10 times cheaper than an equivalent lithium cell, have 17 times more energy storage, and are very long-lasting. Each iron cell is surrounded by an electrolyte, which allows oxygen to permeate into the battery to oxidize the iron inside. This process releases energy stored by the iron, and to recharge the battery, the current is flipped to reverse the oxidation. In its current form, this technology is very impressive, but could need a lot of work before it's ready for all applications. Current iron-air batteries are very large and heavy, so although they have great energy density, they aren't great for mobile power storage. So while EVs aren't necessarily the most immediate use case for this technology, they could thrive as an alternative to current stationary battery products. Current iron-air batteries are relatively slow to charge, which, as car manufacturers rush to implement faster charging speeds, means these may not end up in vehicles. Say that an average lithium-ion battery pack could store 4 hours of electricity. An equivalent iron-air battery could theoretically store 100 hours in a similar form factor. This really makes this tech more ideal for energy backups, where it can effectively handle long load times, and lithium batteries can be used to handle spikes in usage. So while your car probably won't be running off of rust anytime soon, these batteries could be useful for more effectively supplying the grid with excess renewable energy during off hours. Even to the most casual follower of the world of materials science, you have probably heard of graphene. Graphene has long been held as a miracle substance due to all of its truly amazing properties. If you're unfamiliar, here's a quick rundown. Graphene is a substance that is made of a single layer of carbon atoms, tightly bound in a hexagonal honeycomb lattice. This unique structure allows it to break a number of records for being simultaneously the thinnest, strongest, and most conductive material known to man. Due to its amazing versatility, scientists have proposed graphene as a solution to countless problems, like strong and corrosion-resistant building materials, foldable displays, improved radio and sensor technology, and countless other theoretical applications. Like I mentioned a moment ago, among graphene's many noteworthy features is the fact that it is one of the most conductive materials we have ever discovered. This makes the substance extremely effective for use in future battery technologies. Graphene batteries will likely meld solid-state battery designs with the material to create a new generation of extremely fast-charging batteries. Additionally, graphene batteries will have an increased energy density, longer lifespan, and a much more reliable design. The same properties which make graphene so physically strong are also what makes it such a safe battery material, with very minimal fire risk. With these batteries, we might reach a point where EVs might meet or completely exceed the biggest conveniences of gas cars. Using graphene batteries, you might be able to drive much further than current battery ranges allow, and then when you do need to charge, you can be in and out in a comparable amount of time to refueling a gas vehicle. If you are already familiar with graphene, you probably know the obstacles that this technology faces before mass production is viable, though. For one, graphene is extremely difficult and expensive to manufacture at any reliable scale. Current methods take a lot of time to produce any material, and even then, it is usually only in small flakes and nowhere close to industrial scale. Scientists have been working on methods for producing this material for a long time, but progress is very slow. In fact, there's even a saying that has been popularized regarding this supposed miracle material that really encapsulates the problem. Graphene, it can do everything except leave the lab. Maybe someday soon we'll see true progress here, but it is telling that in a list which includes nuclear-powered batteries, graphene batteries might actually be the most far-fetched, at least for now. While electric cars are seeing tons of cool new features being implemented all the time, it's the battery at its core that is really the most remarkable part of the whole vehicle. In a short amount of time, we have seen EVs change from being impractical and prohibitively expensive to being the transportation option of the future. Above all else, it has been the numerous advances and cost reductions in battery technology that has gotten us to this point. While EVs are already amazing products, what is especially impressive is the fact that we are really only at the beginning. Scientists around the world are pushing the boundaries of battery technology, both to advance what we already have and to usher in the next generation of battery technology. We discussed a lot of different future technology today of varying degrees of feasibility, but what I can say for certain is that the future looks very bright for electrification. That's all for this video, so in the meantime, if you want to see the latest Tesla news, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.